In this video, I'll not simply teach you every single property about the display grid. I will show you some practical examples of how you can apply the grid display and make it responsive in multiple places of your website. Firstly, we are going to try to make a design. We are going to try to understand how I want the website to look like. And to do that, I'll be using the Microsoft Paint. Since I don't have really much money, you can check that on my YouTube channel, it's not really good at all. Now we are going to come here and design like a screen. This is our screen with the thing. Now we are going to put here our page, open it. This is when you are full screen in your computer. So we would have something like this, you see. Now we are going to copy and we would have something like 3 columns. Of course, I'm not going to put titles or really much things so you can understand it properly how the grid was made. Now we are going to center it a little bit more. Okay, there we go. This is our website. In here could be a title, like products. Then we are going to also create a product how it should be. An arrow. Create the last part myself. There we go. So we are going to have here product. Pretty big, right? And we are going to have an image for the product. So we're going to write it up. And text. The text can contain the price, the description, everything you want. Then we also want to make something for the mobile version. The mobile, right? Here is something like a mobile. This is going to be the black part of the screen. Then we can also put here product, but instead of putting 3 rows of products, we would make something like 1 product only. Because we don't have really much space to work with more things. Of course, in a tablet, we could put only 2 rows instead of 3. With the plan done, we can already jump to our Visual Studio Code, which, well, have the HTML. This is our HTML. We are firstly linking our CSS style, which is completely blank. We have our main, which is the main content of the page. We can only have 1 main, you should know. The div, it's like a main div of where we are going to put stuff. This is going to be all our products. If you want to put here a title, you could put something like page 1 products. I will just leave it there, I'm not going to style it at all. Then we also have the figure here. Actually, I'm going to make this even more professional than I was actually expecting. Section, because instead of a div, a better would be a section. Well, I'm sorry, my mom just called me. So, in a section, you just come down and put the page 1 products. Because every section will demand a title. And this way you can have your project really structured. Well, we are going to add another div anyways, so... Because we don't want the header, the products, to be considered an item of the grid. Then we have a figure, which can have multiple images or only 1. Ours will only have 1 image each, and a fee caption. And the fee caption will also have the price, name and description. Pretty simple. We did HTML already explained. What do you think about looking at the website? Well, it's looking like this, the products here. Then we have the monkeys and, the products. We are going to apply the classes. Because without classes, it would be really hard to apply the selectors and all we want. So, come here to the div and apply the class of something like all products. Pay attention to the classes because it's really important to understand how the HTML and the classes are structured to understand the grid as well. The grid and the flex are the most hard displays that there are. Now each figure should have the class of single product or 1 product, or you just need to specify that that's the only product, you know, the single product. In my case, you can change the name, will have an image and a fee caption. The fee caption, it's like product text, product info, and in the price put something like product price, and in here something like product name. Those last 3 things are really useless. If you really want to style it a little bit more, you can use the product info, but this product price and product name would only be useful for a filter or something like that, or a search bar. Then we are also going to copy this single figure here because it's only in this single figure. We are going to select the other figure, or that's not closing, at least one that's opening. If you're in Visual Studio Code, spam Ctrl D or just leave it pressed and it selected everything. Just Ctrl V and you changed every single figure. You don't need to put the class in every single one of them. Of course, only Visual Studio Code. I don't know if any other text editor does that. Now with the classes done and well figured and structured, you come here to your website, F12, and you are going to the iPhone as an example, to the iPhone view, any mobile phone view, because when developing a website and you want it to be responsive, you always want to make sure that you start by the phone. It's easier and a better practice. Now we are going to select here the main, this main here, and we are going to say that everything inside the main, or the main itself, is going to have the margin of 0, or auto it's better, and we are going to also apply the max width of 1400 pixels as an example, because this way it will always occupy a max of 1400 pixels. After setting this up, you might want to put something like the global selector and say the margin is going to be 0 and the box sizing it's going to be blah blah blah. Well, if you want to reset the spacing, watch until the end, because in the end of the video I'll give you some tips of spacing and use it with the grid as well. So forgetting a little bit about that, we are going to start by getting the image great. So to get the image great, you can either way apply a selector for the image itself, or apply a selector for the image that's inside the all products, or the single product, or whatever you want. I'm going to do it like this, and I'm going to apply the width of 100% and the high for 100%. Ignore this extra space. If you come here, now the images are not really overflowing to the right? However, if you have your images with different sizes, the height is going to be different. If you can put your images with the same height, or at least squares or something like that, with the same height always, it's going to look always like that. If you want, you can apply something like max high and 10 rem and then object fit cover. So it will only have a max height, and it will also going to cut here his head and his legs, but it's not going to make him fat or really thin. I'm going to show you guys. If you remove, it's looking like this, pretty ugly. Of course, I'm going to remove this max height and I'm going to put cover, because I don't really care about the height of the image. It's not really important in this case. Now we are going to start working with all products. Right, the whole products, all of them together, like if they were in the box. We are going to create this box right now, the all products. We are going to put here a border, and this border we are going to put 1 pixel with black, and it's going to be also solid. And being solid, you can already see how everything is stored up. Since we are already seeing the borders of the all products, we are going to start applying the grid. So display of grid is already changed everything. We are going to uncomment this image because the website is not yet ready for that. And we are also going to put here the grid template columns to 1FR. Let's recapitulate. It changed a little bit in here, however, it's not really something that we want to care about. The grid template, it's something that can only be applied when you have the display grid. You can put this, but if your display is not grid, it's not going to work. And the grid template column, just as a role, is how you can template your grid. In this case, we are saying that our grid will only have one column, which will occupy the whole size of the screen that's available. If you come here and make it to the, Nest Hub as an example, the grid will occupy the whole thing. Even more, because it's not really done yet. Let me go back to the iPhone. And this 1FR, the fractional unit that's only available at the grid, can be translated to something like 100%. It's not a good practice to put 100% because in some browsers it will get shit. So just put the fractional unit every time. One fractional unit, I'm going to leave it there so you see, it's almost every time like 100%. It will occupy all, especially if you only have one. Then we are also going to start applying the stylings for the single product, because the single product is just as important as the all products. Single product, we are going to start by applying a border of 1 pixel width, this time gray, solid. And this way you can already see how the items are going to get. Of course, it is going to look really bad because we did not cover the images yet, because we commented them, remember? So we are going to simply come here and say that the display is going to be grid. We are going to uncomment this image, and now everything suddenly got way better. Now, each image has its own size, but to always make sure that image is bigger than the text, the price, the description and all, we can come here and set the template, but instead of columns, we are going to put rows. If you come here to our professional design, if you remember, in mobile it's only one column, but the product, here the product, you want it to have more space here than here. Image bigger than the text. And to do that, template the rows. So this is the rows. If we say that the first row is going to be 3 times bigger than this one, you can say something like 3fr to an fr. And if you come here, it's already like that. Object fit, always keep the object fit covered. It doesn't matter if you have a max height, max width, or you are using percentages. It's always great to have the object fit to make it fit more. But if you remove, well, it will look like, you see, that's like me when I get up in the morning and I'm ready to record my videos, but I see it's too ugly. I need to wait a little bit. Now, since we already have specified how our image is going to be bigger to our text, let me explain how this really works. Imagine that you have one sectional unit only, 100%. But if you have one fractional unit instead of 3, they are going to have the same space. So instead of being 100%, it's going to be 50% and 50%. So in this case, to make 3 for 1, it's something like dividing the 100% for 4, that's going to be 25, and making the 25 times 3, it's going to be 75. So I'm going to put 75 for the 3, 25 for the first. Well, so much math that I'm already getting exhausted. However, with the FR, it's really going to be simple, easy, and nice for every browser that you use. Of course, there's that one, the Internet Explorer. Yeah, nobody uses it. So just keep straight with your grid template rows and let's get it together. Since we already have our products fine and nice, what about tablet? No, this is not a tablet. This is a tablet, right? This is a tablet. But for the tablet, even for the tablet users, this is a little bit way too big, right? I can almost visualize us having 2 columns. How do we do that? So here it's 1024 pixels, but they are obviously smaller tablets. So we can create here a media query. This is going to always have the screen because we are working with the screen. We are not going to do it for the printer, of course. And you can put it something like and parentheses. And now a condition. Min width. You can also put max width, but since we are good programmers, we started by the mobile version, so we always need to apply the min width. Then we can put 1800 pixels. Before selecting how much size you want to put in here, you can always search in the Google and search for the best breakpoints for your project. Or if you are doing for the school or for your work, always try to find out which sizes of screens, which breakpoints you want to make for the media query. In this case, I'm going to do it at random. So, if you want to change this, just come here, copy, and paste the selector, the wall selector. And instead of one FR, we are going to put it one FR, which will specify 2 columns. In the phone, it's going to keep always only one. However, I'm going to get responsive. When we get 800, it's going to divide for 2 columns. And one another thing that the pros share with each other, me and you, we don't really need this border or the grid here, because it is only going to be applied when it's at least 800 pixels. So it's going to be overwritten at this circumstance. No need to put the ones that were already there. If you come here to our pro designing, you can see that this thing here, if you know how to count, it's 3 columns. And how do we do 3 columns? Here we did 2. Pause the video and please make 3 different columns for when you are at your computer. Firstly, use media query, make sure to change this size here, and don't forget the selector. You should have already have done it, and if you haven't done it, it's your problem. I'm just going to come here and change the width for, as an example, 1100 pixels. And instead of putting 2 times the 1 FR, you can put simply 3 times FR. This way, it's going to work properly. In here, it's like that, but if you close, it's looking great already. It's with the 3 ones that you wanted. However, I want to use this opportunity to use the repeat 3 times, so an integer number of times 1 FR. So if you want to repeat 3 times one same unit, you can use the repeat. Of course, if you wanted to put something like 1 FR, 1 FR, or something like 2 FR, 2 FR, 1 FR, or well, if you want the sizes to be different, Of course, you cannot use the repeat, but in this case you can use the repeat with any problem at all. Now, for you that want that spacing, that good looking spacing, let's just come here and put a global selector, box sizing border box, or which one is good? Let me check. Reset box sizing CSS border box. Alright, we already see that it's the border box, it's the best one. Then padding of 0, and we also put the margin as 0. This way the spacing got shit. Let's go to the phone. Now, as you can see, we don't really have pretty much space for anything. First thing that you can do, it's H1 up here. The H1 is going to have padding of 1 rem. Then you can also put here the padding of our main grid for, well, padding 1 rem. Right. This border wouldn't be actually there. You can simply remove the border. The border is only for indicating stuff. Then, for the single product, you can also put padding. It's up to you, 1 rem. You can put here a padding if you want to. It's not really needed, but you can put it. Then, in here, it doesn't change anything. However, we've added some paddings and all. I'm just going to remove these borders because it's just confusing. This way, it's looking pretty nice, in my opinion. However, this is not really adding in the extra space between the stuff, right? Well, this way it's also working because of the padding. However, if you come here and remove the padding from the single product, of course, this way it's already getting pretty bad. You can do it something like using gaps. To add the padding between the products, you need to apply it on the all products. So, gap on rem. There we go. And now the products have that space between them. You see? If you want, you can also put 1 rem to rem, so the middle, in this case, between columns, it will have bigger than between, between rows. You can also apply the row gap and the column gap separately, which will give the same result. In this case, it's the opposite. It would be like 2 rem here and 1 rem in here to be exactly how it was in here, or not. I don't know, I'm not professional, I'm just watching. I'm not really that good at spacing and measuring things up. You just need to make sure to put some gap. You can put the same gap at the both sizes, it's professional still. In this case, if you want to center the things up, you can also try to work with product info. We use this class to center this thing up here, as you can see. And you come here, free caption. It takes all this space. You can center it up, you can make space between with the flex. It's really up to you. In conclusion, you've learned how to create a grid, nested grids that are the items with the text and the image, and you've also learned how to do some spacing with a gap in the grid. I'm Diogo Veigas, and if you didn't understand something or want help with anything at all, just leave a comment, of course, based on this video, because if you ask me how to get a girlfriend, I will not help you, because I cannot get one myself either. I'm Diogo Veigas, and I'll see you in the next video.